Hello and welcome back to Nerds in the Morning, the Tuesday morning Richalvarez show where we talk about nerdy stuff. Today, we will be discussing Breaking Bad, but since I haven't seen the last episode, I'm going to let our friends Chris and Andrew talk about it while I go into the other room. I'll see you at the end of the episode. Bye-bye.
Alright, so needless to say, we are going to be talking about a lot of spoilers, so if you haven't seen the finale yet, or you haven't seen certain parts of the show, turn away right now, because we're going to spoil everything. Anyway, let's start with our first question. So, Andy, what did you think about the series finale?
Honestly, I don't know what to think. It's a bit... I'm still processing it. It was a great way, I think, to end it. I mean, we all knew what was going to happen, but we weren't sure how. And that last little bit that he did at the Gray Matter couple's house was just... That was sort of the icing on the cake, and it really showed the true nature of how bad he really got. Way awesome. Way awesome.
Yeah, there were three things in particular. I love this show because they have a great way of either doing really subtle foreshadowing or clever throwbacks to past episodes. For example, in the last episode, let's start with that scene where he's over with Elliot and Gretchen. Obviously, it's, a gambit. Mm-hmm. Because he's not really hiring professional assassins, but he's using laser pointers. And first little subtle throwback was that Saul recommended that they invest in a laser tag place. So I think I'm pretty sure that was just a really subtle. I mean, maybe I'm stretching on this one, but I think that the fact that they had the potential of going into doing like a laser tag investment, they had actual lasers. I think that was one reference. Thing number two, in the very, very beginning of the show, there's an episode when Walt and Jesse are still using the RV. The battery dies because Jesse accidentally left the key in the ignition. Yeah. And there's a line where Jesse says, can you make a robot to start it up again? Because he's like, you're smart or whatever. And he's like, what are you talking about? Are you an idiot? Make a robot. And then fast forward to the very, very, very end of the series, and he created a robot to, use basically the gun to take out all the neo-Nazis. So, I mean, once again, I don't know if that was intentional or if that was subtle, but, who knows. And then the last point that I thought was great was there's a shot early on in the series where I believe he's at the doctor's office, doing like chemo or something, and he punches a metallic paper towel dispenser after staring at it for a second.
Right, yeah.
And then it's kind of like, he's angry with the situation. He doesn't want to accept what's going on. Fast forward once again to literally the very last shot of the series. He's looking at that metallic stainless steel bin with all the meth in it, and except that time, instead of punching it, like he smiles and falls over.
Yeah, that was sort of, he realized he was good to go.
Oh man, it was
literally
crazy. So anyway, overall, I thought the series finale was fantastic. I mean, yeah, that entire episode, I was just like on edge, like what's going to happen next,
Yeah, I mean, especially the episodes leading up to it. I mean, especially just pulling Walt out of New Mexico in that whole new environment. I almost wish that we had more of that, but I mean, I think they did just the perfect amount. And then at the end, when he sort of righted all the things that he was wrong about and admitted to his family that he did it for himself the whole time, which we all knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he always tried so hard to convince his family, but everything he did, we always felt was so selfish. Like, how could you do that? And so it was really cool of him to admit that, and I think Skylar understood what was about to happen. And kind of, I don't know if she forgave him or not, but she definitely...
Maybe got a little tiny bit of closure, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, she just knew that it was over, and that was it. I mean, he didn't have much time to go anyway. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, what an amazing way to just sort of end it in that shot with the camera pulling up. And you just see his body lying there, and then the police surrounding the area. I didn't know it was going to go down like that, but it was awesome.
So, kind of recapping the final episode, he admits to his wife that he did it for him. He takes out pretty much all the neo-Nazis. He even gets Lydia with the ricin. And that shot, by the way, that scene, one of the things that it threw me off a little bit at first, because I thought that he slipped it in like while he was talking to them. But after thinking about it, I realized he got there early and made sure there was only one stevia packet. Because that's why she looks down and she doesn't see it. So he planned it out so perfect. So I guess he must have put it in and resealed it or something.
Yeah, right when she asked the waiter that she needs more of it is like when I just figured it out. Because he doesn't want to do more business.
Yeah.
And I wasn't quite sure what his whole plan was there. And then, wow, yeah, I'm still thinking about it.
So
pretty cool.
He took out the neo-Nazis, he killed Lydia, and then Jesse gets away. That was so perfect, because I actually thought they were going to kill him off. I was surprised they let him go.
It's sort of, I mean, Jesse being such a emotional character who never really plans anything. He just kind of just goes with what's in his heart. He just always screwed everything up for Walt. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why he wanted him so much. It was like his son he never had kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I hated the fact that, he ratted on Walt there with Hank.
Yeah.
Because it's like, no. But at the same time, it's like I wanted to see that end because you knew it had to end one way. And then when he told those guys that he wanted him dead, I thought that was it. And I thought what Walt was going to do was go over there to finish a job that wasn't done. Because when he heard that they were still making meth, he's like, oh, not on my watch. He's not.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I didn't realize he was going to do what he did. But then at the same time, as mad as I was at Jesse, just that look on his face with all the scars and the bruising, I felt so bad for him.
And they pull on your heartstrings even more when they had that shot of him doing like the woodworking, making the box. Because we know that initially that was the one thing that brought him happiness, and he gave that up for weed, basically.
Yeah.
So
that's right. Yeah.
They just really were like, feel as bad for Jesse as you can. And when they did that, I was like, oh no, are they gonna? I really thought when they showed that scene, they were trying to do like a final say goodbye to Jesse because we're gonna kill him, but he gets away.
Brilliant. They think of everything, and I don't know if they thought of everything from the very beginning, but they took so much care from episode to episode to make sure that there wasn't something that was in there for the sake of being there. There's a few flaws, I think, but not really when in compared to everything else that they've done. It's just all the little foreshadowing and everything from the older episodes that you just sort of see that they've used. You notice when Walt would sort of lie to people, he got better and better, but he was never ever any good at lying to his family.
Yeah,
you notice that, and I remember watching. I think it was in the third season or second season. I don't remember what season it was. One of the older ones where I thought, man, he's not a very good actor anymore. What's going on? Why are they not? Are they not? Maybe the director's not sort of letting him do his thing. But then I realized he was an actor playing an actor who was acting badly. So it was his family, because then he'd talk to Jesse, and he's so convincing.
Yeah,
so convincing to him, but to his family, it never was. And
Silo was his weakness.
Yeah, and then it just carried on through the whole episode. Like every word that's said really reflects on what happens around him and the way he behaves. I'm jumping all over the place.
That's great. I completely agree with you. He was extremely good at lying, but he couldn't quite lie.
He never
perfectly.
Quite got it.
He never was able to do it to his family. Well, that brings us to our next question. This is a tricky one, but what was your favorite moment in the show?
The whole series.
The whole series.
I'd have to say the part that got me the most excited, not excited like I was looking forward to it, but the one that was the biggest shocker for me was that one scene where Jesse and those thugs. It's been a while since I've seen it, so I don't remember the lead up to it, but those thugs were going to kill him. And then Walt comes and saves the day and runs over him with the car.
When he drives him over. That was great.
I hadn't seen the episode yet, and a friend of mine said to go and watch it during a lunch break while I was at work. And I'm like, okay, I can watch it. So I watched it, and that scene came up, and I just was frozen with my jaw just to the floor. I could not believe it. I wouldn't say that was my favorite thing that happened in the show, but that was definitely the most impactful scene to me for the whole movie of what was to come, especially. That was sort of the breaking point where Walt was going to be really bad. I mean, he already blew up that guy's office in the first season, but I mean, this was he killed two people in cold blood, just ran him over.
Yeah.
And I think that was the turning point for me for Walt to do what he ended up doing.
I would say my favorite moment was when he finally took out Gus. The way that he cleverly planned that out with the bomb And that episode was the one where there were so many things that could have gone wrong. You know, he had to have it timed perfectly, and it was just crazy. There's one shot in particular where Gus pulls up to that nursing home, and the camera's just panning out very, 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 very slowly. Or maybe it was zooming in. I can't remember if it was zooming in or out. But they stayed on him because that shot was so long, and you knew, like, he knew, or he was wondering, like, am I about to walk into a trap, or was debating whether he should go in or not.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting to Gus's character because Gus, that was his one weakness. I forget, what was the name of that character again? The guy with the bell? I'm spacing out.
Oh, yeah.
I know his name. I'm having a brain fart. But anyway, whatever his name was, the guy with the guy with the bell, I just knew, kind of similar to how Walt's weakness was lying to his family, Gus's weakness was he always had to keep going back and taunting that guy because he killed his best friend during the flashback. So, you know, that was his weakness. He went in and then blew him up, and that shot, the other amazing shot was when he walks out and he adjusts his tie, and for a split second you're like, wait, did he survive?
Yeah, you're like,
and
no
then the
way.
camera pans around and you're like, oh, he's dead.
Yeah, I mean, amazing visual effects to keep it so subtle like that too, because half his face is gone, but they don't. I mean, they just kind of hint at certain things, and then all of a sudden it's just blah, and
It was crazy.
That was another jaw to the floor scene for me.
Anyway, so I guess moving on to our next question: who in the entire show would you consider your favorite character? That's a tough one.
That's a tough one. I'd still have to say that I've always rooted for Walt. I mean, even when he started getting bad, I mean, it's almost like he was fulfilling sort of a fantasy of mine, not to do drugs, but just to just go out and
achieve greatness.
Yeah, and just like build this empire, and you know, from all like the video games and stuff that I played, he would be like the one guy that I'd want to control. You know, there were other characters in there too that I really liked, but just Walt, and not just Walt as a character, but especially, you know, the actor playing Walt, just to really make you forget who you're seeing play, and it's just I mean, it's probably one of the greatest characters of all like TV history. So he's like my Homer Simpson, I guess. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Well, if I couldn't choose Walter White, I would actually say Saul Goodman is my favorite character. He added a certain, like, there was definitely some comic relief that he added once Jesse stopped being the comic relief. And also his character is just hilarious. Like, there's one line of dialogue, I'm going to paraphrase it, but around the time that Walt wants to poison Brock, he says he needs to go talk to Jesse to explain why he did what he did. And Saul's like, well, Mr. White, I'm not quite sure Jesse's prepared to have a nuanced conversation on the virtues of child poisoning. Like, there are these brilliant lines he delivered.
Yeah, he does a great job with that character. Right, and you have to have that comic relief because everything's so serious. And I'd get on board with him. He's really, really funny. He's one of my favorites, too. They're all my favorites, really.
They're great.
All of them.
Well, I guess moving on to our last question here. Why do you think it is that Breaking Bad became such, like, a critically acclaimed show? I mean, either the best or one of the best series on TV. What magic does it have? Why did it get so successful?
I think, I really think it's like one of those perfect storms where, I mean, you've got an amazing creator. You've got great writers on board, great directors, cinematography. I mean, it's almost like some of the stuff they were experimenting with, more not for a TV show, but just the art behind what they were trying to do, showing the landscape of New Mexico and all that. The cast, I mean, I think everything just fell into place. It's like one of those shows where you just, once you got everybody together, the magic just happened. It doesn't always happen, but I think it was just, that perfect storm of the whole cast and crew. On top of that, a huge, like, amazing story, and something that I think we can all relate to also. At least for the first part of it, you can relate to it until it gets a little out of hand. But I can't think of any other reason why it was so great. It's just a bunch of geniuses coming together and producing this thing that will stick with us forever, I think.
Yeah. Going back to what you were saying earlier about kind of like living out like a fantasy or something, I completely agree with what you were saying. And I think one of the reasons why the show is so successful is that Walt, he had his initial empire, Gray Matter, and it like fell through. and he has regrets about, past success, the shoulda, woulda, coulda. He almost had something great, and now he gets his chance to do it again. So in that sense, everybody wants success and do something great, and he does it, but crosses all these moral boundaries while doing it. And what's crazy about that show, I think, is that you get so emotionally invested in Walter White. And even, as the show goes on and he starts to make decision after decision where now you're like, whoa, he's definitely crossing some lines, you still are rooting for him because then he'll still try to make it right.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the reasons, among all the other perfect elements that came together, you're still cheering for Walter, even at the end, even when he's kind of a terrible human being. And then the last thing also is that they knew that they needed to end the show when they were ahead. Because a lot of TV shows, I think, drag it out too long, or they'll end it a season later than they should have. Yeah. And as much as I wish that Breaking Bad would keep going, I think that the fact that they sat down and were like, okay, we got to end it now. Even they ended with you wanting more.
Yeah, I can get down with that. That is some of the biggest flaws, I think, some other shows too, exactly, is that they don't know when to quit. And I think here they said everything they needed to say. Anything that they were introduced, I think, would almost just make it feel like they're just looking to keep forward just to make money from their viewers, not for the story.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure as much as the cast and crew and everybody wanted to keep work on it, they knew that it is for all the characters, this is the way out. This is how it had to end.
And the best part is we still get the Better Call Saul prequel. So we'll get, the new show that's coming up.
Looking forward to that.
And it'll have my favorite character, Saul Goodman. And that'll be, the only way to fill that void that Breaking Bad's going to leave now that it's over.
And I'm really looking forward to the box set with all the special features.
That's right. Yeah.
So much, because there's so much more to see. Mm-hmm. Look for that one.
Well, that is pretty much all of our questions. So we're going to call Richie back in here and wrap this up.
Hi, welcome back. Now this is my favorite part of the show where the question that I asked you last week gets answered today. To be more specific, I picked my 5 favorite answers from last week's question, and then after I am done talking about this, I will ask another question for next week. All right, let's see what we got here. The Duder Rules 1 said, my favorite movie is Men in Black. All the characters work. The story is great, and all the puppets like the worms and the grouchy guy all still hold up. MIB2 was my biggest letdown. The stakes seemed smaller, the villains weren't as funny or memorable as Edgar from the first movie, and it seemed more geared towards the 13-plus crowd. Well, the Duder Rules one, I actually have to agree with you on that one. I love Men in Black 1, and Men in Black 2 just didn't cut it. In fact, I've seen Men in Black 1 1,000 times, and I only saw Men in Black 2 that one time in theater when it first came out, because I was really disappointed with it, so I never watched it again. However, I do really like Men in Black 3, and I've seen that many times now. All right, going down to Savannah Roberts said, my favorite movie has got to be Killer Clowns from Outer Space, because, come on, it has clowns, and also it has a nice B-movie style with 50s style sci-fi in it too. Now, I've actually never seen Killer Clowns from Outer Space, but my dad loves 1950s sci-fi movies, so I've seen quite a few of those, so I kind of know what you're talking about. I've seen Teenagers from Outer Space, and so it was nice to see a comment where someone's referring back to something from that age, because that's the kind of stuff that they make fun of on what's it called, the Mystery Science Theater 3000, Mystery Science Theater 3000, and I love Mystery Science Theater 3000 because of what they did on there, and also riff tracks. All right, moving on. Jaco Starfire, hope I said that right, said, my favorite movie has got to be either Moulin Rouge, period. It's either Moulin, I guess he must have messed up. Maybe he just meant it's got to be Moulin Rouge, and he just added the either because he was going to do another movie. I don't know, whatever. Anyways, my favorite movie has got to be Moulin Rouge. I chose this movie because musicals tend to demonstrate extreme performance and truly test the skills of all the production involved. Plus, they are the most entertaining movies to me. I love a movie that can take me on the full emotional spectrum in Moulin Rouge. I laughed, I cried, I got to watch very attractive actresses strut their stuff, and I was able to sing along and participate because it involves songs I grew up with. Musicals is not my favorite genre, but I do enjoy some musicals. Moulin Rouge is one of my favorite musicals, so I was glad to see that someone mentioned Moulin Rouge on the list, and you did a very good job of explaining thoroughly why you like Moulin Rouge. Remember, the question last week was, what was your favorite movie and why? A lot of people didn't really put the why, they just put what their favorite movie was. So if you just said, I really like this movie, then I wasn't going to pick it. So next time you know. All right, next question. To So Fan 2000. For me, as a huge Bob Hope fan, I would have to say The Road to Bali. It felt like he and Bing Crosby had worked together for so long that they meshed perfectly. The being able to play off each other, plus the little fourth wall gags and cameos made it stand out above the rest. Well, So Fan 2000. Out of all the road movies, that is also my favorite because I grew up watching those as well. And it's interesting how a lot of people, it goes over their heads that, like, for example, on Family Guy, when they have the road to Rhode Island or the road to whatever with Stewie and Brian, those are tributes to the road movies of old with Bing Crosby and Bob Hope. So, I mean, those movies are still influencing media today. And great choice. Now, Little Red Riding Hood Else said, my favorite movie will always be The Fifth Element because it gave me awesomely unrealistic expectations of the amount of opera-singing blue alien women that I'd see on the big screen. Now, I have to admit, I do really like The Fifth Element, but mostly I picked this one because it was kind of funny. Yeah, Bruce Willis hasn't looked as happy as he did in that movie ever. In fact, even in that movie, he was kind of grumps. I mean, there was an episode of Screen Junkies where they showed an old '80s commercial where Bruce Willis was like partying and dancing. And they're like, hey, Bruce Willis hasn't looked this happy in years. So, yeah. But anyways, Fifth Element, great choice. Well, so the question that is, of course, what we're going to be asking you now for next week is, what was your favorite moment, part, character, whatever, about Breaking Bad and why? Tell us what you liked about Breaking Bad and why, and I'll pick my top 5 questions next week. Well, guys, that's the end of the episode, so I hope you guys had fun. See ya.
And don't forget, you can get Richalvarez t-shirts in the description
Oh,
below.
yeah! Richalvarez t-shirts in the description below. Okay, bye.
Thanks for watching.